Hey, welcome to the second part of my series titled The Alien Stage Experience, where we basically break down every episode and every piece of available content related to Alien Stage as thoroughly as possible. So we're going to cover a lot today, so I advise you to buckle up. And if you haven't seen part 1 yet, I highly recommend you to check it out first so you don't get lost, because it's the direct continuation. Okay, so let's pick up where we left off, because the road of suffering must continue. And let's just start with round 5 that I like to call the arrival of the genius. While fear and the desperate will to survive kind of dominated the previous episodes to varying degrees, of course, this next participant to be introduced is kind of completely breaking the pattern and seems to be enjoying himself. With a relaxed and almost nonchalant attitude, he steps onto the stage and immediately sends the crowd into a frenzy. He's number 1, the king of the stage and the winner of the previous edition. It's Luca. We also find our dear Mitzi again, completely weakened and shaken, pale but perfectly dolled up from head to toe as the predator circles his prey and starts the round by whistling at her. Luca clearly has the upper hand throughout the entire episode because he sings most of the lines, even though according to the rules they were supposed to be sung as a duet. Obviously, Mrs. Emotional Distress and Trauma helped him a lot here. It's important to note that the thematic concept of this round was a forced marriage, hence the heterosexual pairing, and considering the way Mitzi is perceived by her male peers, the round takes on a disturbing tone, but more on that way later. Luca completely toys with Mitzi and gets dangerously close to her, practically pressing against her. He whispers in her ear, everything in his body language screams, there is no point in continuing, my victory is already secured. I read an interesting analysis on Reddit suggesting that he might have been also trying to provoke her to wake her up. And honestly, I kind of vibe with that interpretation. Maybe he wanted Mitzi to fight him properly so just he could savor his victory even more, but maybe. The previous contestant literally gave up before even stepping on stage, which caused that round to be skipped. Luca is quite literally the worst possible opponent. Think about it. Backed by all the sponsors, adored by the public, this beautiful young blonde man with golden eyes who's also 30 years old. Okay. He captivates everyone and even goes as far as imitating Sua's mannerisms to destabilize Mitzi and remind her of her helplessness. You're about to join her soon, you who let her die on this cold floor. The lyrics of the song are also highly suggestive. It's ruler of my heart. The one who ruled your heart is gone, a constant and repeated reminder of Sua's absence and of the idea that Mitzi doesn't deserve to live and breathe on that very same stage. So Luca completely leads her by the leash. And what makes Luca's performance even more disturbing is that he doesn't even try to crush Mitzi head on, he dissects her slowly. Everything is calculated to make her falter emotionally rather than vocally. Where a typical opponent would simply try to sing louder or better, Luca chooses proximity, invasion of personal space, and almost intimate provocation. And it works. Mitzi isn't just technically struggling, she's psychologically stripped bare on stage, and every time he gets closer, every time he whispers, you can feel him pressing exactly where it hurts. It's Sua's death, the guilt, and the helplessness. Luca continues his relentless assault and begins dancing with Mitzi, but at one point we notice that his gaze is empty. He too is enslaved by this moment. He may carry himself like a master, but he's just as subjugated as Mitzi, if not worse, because the higher you stand and the more paralyzed you become under the pressure and submission that come with holding first place. So maybe we can allow ourselves a bit of empathy for him, because let's remember, he's a victim of this system too. Just like Mitzi, Ivan, Till, Sua, and all the other children who each carry their own story. And yet, Luca feels unbearable at this moment, especially under Mitzi's gaze as she relieves Sua's death. We see Sua's body collapsed on the floor, while the younger Sua turns back toward Mitzi. The message is clear, she's responsible for her disappearance. That thought suffocates Mitzi, and she begins to lose control far more than before. The editing of that scene with her eyes glitching makes her look like a sort of monster, a demon, as if she's dehumanizing herself. It reflects the anger she feels toward herself and toward the aliens. Deep down, she almost seems to believe she's no better than them, that she's just as repulsive. And then a side of Mitzi emerges that we hadn't seen until now. It's overwhelming rage. She throws herself at Luca, furious, and starts landing punch after punch to his face. It's not just that she resents him for imitating Sua, she's venting her fury onto him because the parallels between Mitzi and Luca have already been established. Two beautiful, pretty faces constantly praised for their looks, their value reduced to that alone. And she's tired of that mask, because by disfiguring her opponent, she's trying to destroy a part of herself. The blows don't stop, especially since Luca is physically quite fragile and struggles with a lot of health issues, so it's kind of difficult for him to defend himself. And as the audience watches them in stunned silence, Luca lets a victorious smile spread across his face. No matter how hard Mitzi tried, her defeat had been sealed from the very beginning. It may even have been a strategy to make her snap and get her automatically disqualified, as guards approach her and pull her back, preparing to shoot her as well. So Bro basically just rage baited her. Acting this way, Luca may also have been trying to humiliate her even further, throwing her own helplessness back in her face, a fate far more agonizing than simply losing by the rules of the game. As Still watches, devastated, the girl he loves is slammed to the ground by the guards, still consumed by rage. Then smoke suddenly fills the room, and mysterious silhouettes emerge and seize Mitzi, and a young woman turns back, casting a cryptic glance at Luca, still stunned from his fresh injuries. Mitzi is not dead, she has been rescued. And just as Luca thought that he had buried her for good, he actually gave her the opportunity to escape this hell and join the rebellion. An exterior, a living sky, people bursting with energy. Something is clearly different. While the previous episode constantly reminded us of the characters' conditions as slaves, even if their prison was made of gold, this episode's atmosphere immediately feels far more wild. But most importantly, what should strike you is that for the first time, we are not dealing with a proper round. That doesn't stop the episode from delivering an iconic track sung by Six Fu. I think I pronounced it well, I don't know. But this is something that will happen again later on, so don't be thrown off. And this melody is far from soft and docile. It's dynamic, extravagant, and explosive. Just like its central character, Hyuna, alien stage diva who sings as an act of freedom. At the beginning of the episode, a wanted poster appears on screen, and Hyuna is being haunted by the aliens. In short, she and her group are part of the rebellion, a movement built underground that aims to restore humans' freedom and dignity. They are constantly on the run, heavily hunted, and yet they persist. The world of Alien Stage suddenly gains a more realistic and more vivid and substantial dimension, where it makes perfect sense that in this kind of system, a human resistance movement would emerge. The dystopian world we are shown takes on a whole new layer. That's why this episode is so iconic, largely thanks to its driving character, Hyuna. From the very beginning, somewhat like Till, but obviously in a very different register, she's portrayed as the master of her own existence. She overflows with confidence, she seems completely unbothered, entirely free in both her movements and her words. She dances and sings however she pleases, and her attitude almost disorients us. Like, how can she be this relaxed and given their condition? We almost come to understand that to survive in such a world, maybe you have to stop giving a damn, and in other words, adopt a carefree attitude to make existence bearable. This is her coping mechanism. And let's take a closer look at the episode's contents. Hyuna is photographed in a swimsuit by her comrades. They take selfies with Mitzi, who has also joined the rebellion. And even though we'll have the opportunity to discuss this much greater depth later, we can already notice that she does not share the general enthusiasm. The atmosphere is very warm, and Hyuna clearly embodies it. She sings on a small stage which, yes, looks almost ridiculous compared to the grand stages of the previous rounds, but it has nothing to envy them. Hyuna sings for herself. Her love seems directed toward her own person. She barely restrains her voice, doesn't hesitate to soar into the high notes and let her vocals resonate however she pleases, captivating her audience in the process, and me included, by the way. But don't get it twisted, the rebels aren't just lounging around all day. They work relentlessly and risk their lives for their cause. Alongside Dewey and Isaac, two secondary characters who still carry some importance, they crash through a window on a motorcycle while staying absolutely badass. They take down aliens and guards without breaking a sweat, but more importantly, they seem to enjoy it. Each strike allows them to reclaim a fragment of their freedom. Beside a somewhat out-of-it Mitzi, we fully appreciate the episode, which feels much lighter on the surface, yet deeply meaningful underneath. But one question remains: how did Hyuna even end up here? How did she manage to slip through the cracks? A crucial piece of information is then revealed. Hyuna knew Luca. She even grew up alongside him. We see her gaze drop behind her sunglasses, trying to maintain her composure while his face is plastered across the screens, as if his presence, even just an image, still traps her. We also glimpse another essential character who is Hyunwoo, Hyuna's twin brother. Yes, that's a lot to process in just a few seconds, but don't worry. Three of them seemed nearly inseparable. We see a younger Hyuna already bursting with energy, her face radiant with hope. She appears to believe in a better future, and her brother is her anchor. Or he seems like her anchor. Together, they take Luca under their wing, who, despite being 3 years older, carries the air of a disconnected little chick. And yet, even though everything seemed fine, Hyuna's voice falters, an unsettling closeness with this nonchalant Luca, and flickering flashbacks. Hyuna is losing control on stage. An official cover of All In by Luca was released for Alien Stage 3's anniversary, and at that exact moment he starts laughing in a way that feels disturbing. Just listen. Luca doesn't seem to grasp the gravity of his actions. As I said earlier, he's completely disconnected from reality, and yet he killed Hyunwoo, Hyuna's twin brother. While she stands there staring at his body, frozen in shock and disbelief. Luca lifts his head, cheeks flushed, the purple tint on his finger caused by his irregular heartbeat having faded for a moment, probably thanks to the adrenaline. The exact circumstances of Hyunwoo's death remain extremely unclear and underexplained, and online theories are pouring in by the thousands. The most popular one, it's the general fan consensus, is that Luca and Hyunwoo got into an argument, with Hyunwoo growing jealous of the attention his sister gave to Luca. We know that Hyunwoo was somewhat wary of Luca's childish or even weird behavior, big quotation marks, and of how attached he was to Hyuna, but more on that later. The problem is that we still don't know who started the fight, how it escalated, and also how Luca managed to literally kill Hyunwoo when we know that he's physically very weak. Another theory, one I personally buy into much less, suggests that Hyuna herself may have pushed Hyunwoo while trying to separate the two boys, which doesn't really make sense, but you'll see why much later. In any case, Hyuna's trauma is still very deep, but that doesn't stop her from having an incredibly strong will to leave. It was Dewey and Jacob, the latter being the leader of the rebellion, who found her after she fled following her defeat in the competition. At the time, she has already lost a leg and was in terrible shape, but in reality, she wasn't even trying to escape Unlocked Garden. She was trying to go back and to save the remaining children. A completely reckless decision, yes, but one that fits her character perfectly. She charges forward and acts whenever she had the chance. She's deeply altruistic, and even though she drowns her pain in quite a bit of alcohol and cigarettes, her energy and party girl vibe bring a lot of life to the rebellion. Isaac, Jacob's younger brother, is wary of her at first and sees her more as a burden, but her head-first attitude wins him over quickly, and she soon becomes an essential part of the rebellion. I could keep breaking down this comic, but it contains so much information that I'll come back to it when we reach Vige. For now, our heroines are surrounded by guards, and Mizzy decides to take a bullet to the hair so she can dodge more easily. She locks in and absolutely wrecks the guards, though hey, at least she got herself a new haircut. Hyuna, impressed by the young girl's composure under pressure, rushes toward her to pull her into a hug, and the two of them emerge victorious from the blockade. That's when we understand that the plan is already in motion. They're heading inside the concert venue to infiltrate and hack the system, most likely to stop the performance currently underway, Ivan versus Till. Mizzy watches her own face plastered across the buildings. She's wanted. It's a quick reminder. But thankfully, Hyuna is there to reassure her. Meanwhile, there are definitely two people who are under a lot of pressure right now. I hope you enjoyed the breath of fresh air that this episode was, because now we're getting into serious business. And we're moving straight into round 7, aka the final.
Didn't you forget an episode?
Huh? What are you talking about? We're going up to round 7. I know it's difficult, but keep up, sweetheart. Really? Because you very clearly skipped round 6. Round what? I never heard of that.
Stop playing dumb and go back.
I said there is no fucking round 6. It never existed. I never went to the episode, and neither did you. It was just a bad dream. A nightmare. Oh, damn. Quick disclaimer here. I'm about to talk about some really serious topics in the following section: sexual assault and abuse, basically, so you've been warned. This is by far the most difficult episode to cover, mainly because of a really also dumb controversy it sparked that to this day still hasn't been settled within the fandom. But anyway, here's a video of an Alien Sage content creator that I absolutely love that deals with this topic way better than I could, so please go support them. But anyway, if this topic trigger you, feel free to skip straight to the outro, and for everyone else, buckle up, because trust me, you're gonna need it. One night, under heavy rain, the mood is grim. An atmosphere worthy of a funeral. We find our dear Till, who, affected by Mizzy's disappearance, his last glimmer of hope, is completely drained emotionally. He's only a shadow of his former self now, and you can tell that the aliens dressed him. They even pierce his ears. He's wearing closed shoes, clean and polished clothes, nothing like the standout look he had back in round 2. Till is clearly exhausted, and you can hear it in his voice. He sings softly, as if saying each word physically hurts. We then realize just how hypersensitive Till really is. If the slightest thing can make him angry or stir strong emotions, then you can only imagine how much Mizzy's disappearance has drained him of all his life force. Honestly, it breaks my heart to see him like this, but the worst is yet to come. A flashback begins. We see Till in a karaoke room with the lyrics of Mike Lemachis, the signature song of the very first round, and especially of Sua and Mitzi playing in the background. His alien masters force him to sing the lyrics almost as if to mock him and entertain themselves, but Till doesn't respond. He stays silent and refuses to obey. The alien then lunges at him and clamps a hand over his mouth, forcing him to face reality. Mitzi is gone. Maybe he's also trying to make Till give up information about her, but Till doesn't break. Or almost. Annoyed by the provocations and the blatant disrespect toward Mitzi, Till snaps and attacks him with the microphone, only to be quickly slammed onto the table in a really suggestive position that leaves little room for doubt. The next shot confirms our fears. Oh my god. As a half-naked alien strokes his head, this is so fucked up. I'm sorry, I'm just going out of script, but this is disgusting. Till lies completely out on the floor, hair and clothes disheveled. He has been the victim of, let's call it that way, a major sexual assault. And then Mrs. Tilbert appears to comfort him, a younger, radiant, idealized, fictional Mitzi. But in that moment, she is his only lifeline to survive. This episode is a stark reminder that beyond the singing and the love, Anakt Garden is a terrifying and deeply disturbing place, where humans are subjected to the most disgusting forms of abuse and mistreatment. And of course, it affects them deeply as it would affect anyone, especially someone as emotionally fragile as Till, who reacts strongly to provocation and cannot stand being controlled, even if it means turning violent toward the aliens. Unfortunately, a sharp spirit like his, one that would have had every reason to join the rebellion, ends up thrown onto the stage right alongside his childhood friend. This episode is going to reveal a more unsettling side of Ivan, if I may say so, something that I could describe as more obsessive and almost more creepy with big question marks, which only adds, I think, more depth to the character in my opinion, and quick reminder that he's the best character in Alien Stage and there is no debate. And yet, at first, he walks onto the stage with that signature confidence and elegance. No doubt about it, this is the Ivan we know. He sings in that smooth, velvety voice of his and lets absolutely no emotional vulnerability show, unlike his opponent, of course. At this point, it's honestly very hard, if not quite impossible, to figure out what's going on inside his head. Also, side note, but who the fuck did his hair? I'm sorry, I have never been a fan of Round 6 Ivan. The outfit is pretty cool, but that hairstyle is nasty. Like, he looks like a mafia sort of CEO alpha boss you'd find on Character.ai. Yeah, I'm sorry, I had to rant about this. Then a sequence completely catches us off guard. Ivan snatches a flower crown from Till's hand and crushes it under his foot, which obviously makes Till furious, and he immediately lunges at him and starts to beat him up. And I can't help but draw a small parallel between this scene and the earlier moment where Till lashes out at his alien master. The framing is strangely similar, right? At that moment, we realize something rather bitter about Ivan. Even if it means taking on the role of the aggressor just to provoke Till, he wants his attention. Apparently, though I can't confirm it, Ivan may have crushed the flowers because they contained surveillance cameras used to monitor the children, something he for sure knew about. And as the fight between the two boys breaks out, Ivan doesn't seem shaken or worried about the punches he's taking to the face. No. He bursts out laughing. But not that usual cold and restrained laugh we know. It's a genuine and full-throated laugh. He's sincerely happy to be the target of Still's attention, even if this attention is negative and violent. And when you think about it, it actually makes a lot of sense. Ivan is extremely clumsy when it comes to communicating, even more so with the person he loves. He often ends up hurting Till, like in that comic where he openly calls him a friendless idiot, even though Till did consider him as a friend. No matter what form that attention takes, it's enough to make Ivan happy because he's been taught his whole life to never complain. And above all, his self-esteem is in the trenches. He straight up hates himself. So the idea of receiving soft and affectionate attention probably doesn't even cross his mind. So yeah, getting beaten up by his crush, that's enough to make him happy, like the bar is in hell. He spends also time by Till's side, and Till seems to have integrated him into his routine. He doesn't really seem to reject him, he probably even sees him as a very close friend. When Till draws, Ivan stays close beside him, and every now and then his gaze lingers on Till's face, absorbed in his sketch. Prove that no matter how overwhelming his love is, these conditions don't allow him to express it in a healthy way. Still, I don't think that Ivan is trying to possess Till or to monopolize him, even if the lyrics of his song Paradise might suggest otherwise. It's more like a roundabout way of saying he wants to bask into the warmth Till gives off. Ivan feels empty, cold, almost like a corpse. And Till represents the exact opposite. Beyond love, I think that Ivan also admires him, maybe that he even envies him a little, because Till is everything Ivan wouldn't even dare to dream of being, someone free, even in servitude. But because he hates himself, he doesn't consciously process that jealousy in very big quotation marks, because he wouldn't even dare try to become like him. And that's exactly why the two of them contrast so strongly, both in personality and in design. In the cafeteria, Ivan watches Till, bruised as usual, eyes stained with the dried tears. And when I tell you Ivan has no idea how to express what he feels or thinks, this scene proves it. He runs his fingers over Till's wound and licks the blood. At first glance, it's straight up weird, but I generally think that he was trying to comfort Till, except because his face is stuck in that same unreadable expression thanks to his torture level training, it just looks like he's mocking him. There is also another layer of symbolism here. Since Ivan doesn't believe that he deserves to be someone like Till, then why not literally consume him? Ingest his blood, his weaknesses, like a vampire. It's a subtle reference to his fang, which, beyond being a dental deformity, symbolizes how he perceived his love and himself. Something dangerous, a blood-starved parasite surviving by feeding off its prey's energy. At the karaoke, Ivan retrieves Till after his assault and rubs his face against Till's face while he sleeps. I love this scene so much. It's so soft and also quite miserable at the same time. You can feel that words aren't enough to express what he feels, and even if they were, he wouldn't even know how to say it. So he strokes him almost like he's trying to lull him, to show him he's there with him. I love him so much, I'm going to scream, like, genuinely. Ivan seems to spend his days glued to Till. At night, he doesn't even sleep. He passes his hands over Till's lips as if he's hypnotized by the person beside him. And the episode's climax comes crashing in. The two of them are practically screaming their song, the audience completely stunned by their performance, and quite frankly, so are we. Two wounded souls pouring themselves into their voices, and while Till stares blankly into the void, his love with nowhere to go now that Mise is gone, Ivan never takes his eyes off him. And then he suddenly drops the microphone and steps forward, determined. According to Vivi Meng, in various interviews, Ivan was not planning to do what he's about to do. It wasn't premeditated, it's like his body reacted and moved on its own. He approaches Till's pupils dilate at Ivan's touch, proof that the contact pulls him back to reality, and then he kisses him by force. Till struggles at first, and he's clearly uncomfortable. His eyes are practically begging Ivan to let him go. But Ivan holds him there and even looks him straight up in the eyes, like who does that when you're kissing someone? So it's a detail that to me proves that he isn't enjoying the moment either. This is a tragic kiss. It's cold, it's disturbing, it is not meant to make you swoon. Like, there's nothing romantic about this scene, and it was never written to be romantic. Please remember that. As I said, Ivan is pragmatic in his actions, and his gaze shows calculation, not pleasure. Then he places his hands on Till's neck and starts to simulate like he was strangling him, watching the score climb with that same doll-like smile on his lips. Everything clicks into place now. Ivan is deliberately trying to lose points by staging an assault, which, remember, caused Mrs. Disqualification in the previous round. And since Till wasn't singing at full capacity, I think that Ivan initially hoped to lose fair and square because he doesn't seem to have sabotaged his voice when he was singing. He probably even wanted to take one last chance to sing beside the person who gives his life a meaning. But in the end, he's forced into a last-minute plan, and you're probably thinking, okay, so he's self-sabotaging, but then why choosing to kiss Till knowing that it was without his consent? Okay, so interpretations vary. The most obvious one is that he wanted to convey his love in his final moments without realizing, or maybe frankly realizing, that it would hurt Till more than move him. It's a sort of fatal love confession. The second, and both interpretations can coexist, and I like this one a lot, is that he wanted to reignite Till's fighting instinct, so he forces something unpleasant on him. Ivan had previously suggested that they press their lips together, since the concept of kissing doesn't really exist in the world, which Till openly rejected. By kissing him, Ivan reawakens his explosive side, even if it's a very questionable method, especially since he hates seeing the person he loves in distress. Finally, and this comes from a Reddit post, it's not by me, he may also have wanted Till to hate him in his final moments so that his death wouldn't hurt him as much. Ivan sees his love for Till as something bitter, even something sinful. You're the victim of my shallow emotions. No matter the interpretation, the outcome remains the same. Till first closes his eyes, almost as if surrendering to his fate. He even seems relieved to die, and Ivan never looks away, even as the bullets start to hit him. They don't shoot to kill him immediately, it's more like a warning, but Ivan doesn't back down. His hands tremble, his eyes finally show pain. I think it's obvious here that he's afraid of dying, but the moment he realizes that his plan worked and that Till is safe, he finally lets go, and he collapses to the ground under Till's stunned gaze. Ivan has just sacrificed himself for his sake. Blood pools at his feet. Ivan's blood spreads across the floor, reflecting the screen above them. Till won. The lights go out. It's time for the final. Well, there it is. I just covered the hardest episode of the series for me, so I'm just gonna stop here. We'll pick this up next time because I need to recharge my batteries. Hope you enjoyed. Don't forget to subscribe, like, share, all the things that extremely attractive people do, and see you next time.